Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It is bright and freaking early, man. You know it. It's 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, I got to give you guys a heads up, a bit of a warning. Today's video, the story that I'm going to talk about, it's appalling. It's shocking. It's disgusting. It's alarming. I've rewatched this video at least 10 or 12 times. I wanted to write everything down. I write all the information down, and then I try to think how I'm going to approach talking about this, how my experiences, how I can relate to this video. And I got to give you guys a heads up because it's disgusting. I don't know how else to put it. There'll be some links down below. And there's about 4 or 5 links. And usually I go through all these different links and I try to find the ones that have the best quality video, the best information as to the location, what happened, and all that. And I think the best article down below is from Tuscaloosa, which is just 30 miles east of where this happened. All right, so let me get right into this. The video, it's pretty basic. There's not a lot of information. There's not a lot of names. But this is what you're going to see in this video. It opens up with a police car behind another car, and a female cop, a rather petite female cop, is leading a handcuffed black man back to her squad car, and she puts him down on the hood of the car, and you could tell she's pretty petite. Now I'm not making excuses. I'm just describing what I'm seeing in this video. And the handcuffed man is offering absolutely zero resistance. He's going right along with this. Now he's leaning over the hood of the police car, handcuffed. His hands are completely, throughout this whole video, his hands are handcuffed behind him. He's offering zero resistance. Supposedly, from what I can gather, he's being arrested for suspected of dealing in opiates or fentanyl, and there's information on that, if anything was found or whatever. But I think that's the charge. Okay, so when he's leaning, he's over the hood of the police car, and he actually tells the woman, the female cop, that he does have a firearm in his back pocket. And she goes, "Oh yeah!" She pulls it out of his back pocket, and she goes, "Oh yeah!" And then she tases him. He's offering no resistance, handcuffed, over the hood, not posing any threat. And she tases him, and you can see his body jump, and he starts screaming. He starts crying in this video. And you can see her applying it. And after she says, "Oh yeah," she says, "You want it again?" And he's actually crying. It looks like she tases him at least twice for at least a good 5-10 seconds. And then she says, "You want it again? Shut your B ass up." And that's pretty much the video. Okay, most people are going to look at this. Okay, this is, like I said, this is in Reform, Alabama. It's town, whatever they have down there, a county of about 1,500 people in Pickens County. It's about 30 miles east of Tuscaloosa. Okay, when people look at this, I'd say the vast majority of people are going to look at this and just say it is beyond excessive force. So far, the woman's been suspended, and that's all the information I have on this. I'm going to talk about this from my perspective and my thoughts on this, and what I had over 2 decades of using and dealing interactions with dealers, from the people that were, because I figured the people that aren't so good, they're going to be so appalled by this, are probably going to say, well, fentanyl is the scourge, the poison coming into this country. And I've talked about this before. There wouldn't be any poison coming into this country if we didn't have the problem of addiction. Where there's a demand, there's a supply. If the money wasn't going out to other countries, the fentanyl and the drugs wouldn't be coming in. You have to deal with the addiction. A lot of, especially Republican and conservative politicians and pundits make it sound like the other countries are trying to poison America. when the problem is the disease of addiction. If you deal with that and the money going out, and there won't be as many drugs coming in, that's how you deal with this. You know, there's all these suggestions from Trump and other Republican politicians about sending the military down and blockading the ports of Mexico and using the army along the border. Like I said, as long as there is the disease, as long as there is a demand, and believe me, it's a strong demand. The people like me that were addicted to this drug every single day, needed it to survive, to live, to function every single day, we would get that drug no matter what. And a lot of it, I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of it comes in through the U.S. Postal Service and other postal entities. A lot of it comes in, especially fentanyl. And I'm just going to leave that right there. Okay, let me tell you about some of the dealers. I was thinking back to some of the dealers that I knew. And one thing I noticed after a while, these guys would get arrested, inevitably, and they'd come right back out, and they go right back to dealing again. And they get arrested. Just recently, in the last couple of years, I've been clean and sober for 17 years, and about 2 or 3 years ago, I've been clean and sober for about 14 years. And I saw a picture in the paper of one of the dealers 14 years earlier, 15 years earlier, that I had been dealing with, still getting arrested. And the thing I noticed is these dealers are just as addicted to the money and the power as I was to the substance, to the drugs. Seriously, it's as soon as they get out of the jail, they just go right back to dealing again. It's more than a business. It's more than the money. It's an addiction. I remember seeing this. I remember witnessing this. You know, and it destroyed their lives. A lot of these guys were intelligent. I know a lot of these guys, like one of the dealers I knew that was dealing in cocaine. He was a young guy. He started dealing when he was probably about 15 or 16. And by the time he hit about 20, this is back in the 90s, late 90s. He was about 20, I don't think he was even 21 years old. And he had bought a couple condos with the money that he had made from dealing. And he was going to rent them out. He was getting into real estate, but he was still getting arrested. He was still, you know, there's a lot of power involved. These guys, there's a difference between the cocaine dealers and the heroin dealers, or the opiate dealers. The cocaine dealers would come out about 11 to noon, and they would go deal into the night. The opiate dealers start dealing early in the morning because people need that drug very early in the morning, and they finish up dealing in the late afternoon. There's shifts actually where these guys start dealing. A lot of the opiate dealers were actually addicted to the drugs themselves, the vast majority. The coke and crack dealers, not so much. And I remember going to meet like the coke dealers. And they would go, you know, it was like a job to them. They would get up in the morning. They would get up about 11 o'clock in the morning. And I remember meeting these guys at like Friendly's. They'd go and have their lunch, you know, count their money and everything, go back to work. And it was constant phone calls, running and dropping off money. They had rolls, big rolls of money. I remember a few quotes from some of the dealers, some of the guys I dealt with. These are, swear to God, honest quotes. I remember a heroin dealer that I was dealing with for years, that I would get my drugs. After I got clean and sober, you know, I've always been so grateful and happy that I'm clean and sober. But there were times where I almost missed this guy in some kind of weird way. You start to build a relationship with these people, even though because you depend on them to function every day. You know, there's no way I want to go back to addiction, but there was a weird relationship where I actually missed the person, even though he was supplying me with this drug, this poison. I actually missed him. And this guy used to drive, he was called Flacco. He was a Hispanic guy. And, you know, I knew everything about him. I met him every day. We had this relationship. I wouldn't call us friends, but it was a relationship. And he drove this beautiful green BMW. He was in his early 20s, brand new green BMW. And he had new wheels on it one day when he met me in the afternoon, and rims and everything. And I was like, wow, dude, that's, you know, your beautiful wheels on the car. And he goes, yeah, you bought them. Yeah, he rubbed it in my face that me and people like me paid for that BMW, paid for those tires, paid for those wheels. I remember meeting another dealer, a cocaine dealer, and this guy wasn't even 18 years old, 17 years old, probably all of about 5'2". And I remember meeting him and his partner. There was a black guy, a white kid, and a black kid. And they had at least, I don't know, 5 different cars that they would drive. And I met him one day, and I went to go deal with him through the window. And he had a huge 44, it had to be a 44 Magnum, sitting in his lap. Chrome. Looks a lot of addicts trade firearms for drugs. And I was like, wow. And he goes to me, this is what, I still remember him saying this. He goes, don't worry. He says, if I want your money, I'll take it from you. Yeah, I don't know how that, I don't know what that exactly, I don't know what the implication, I know what the implication was. This is some of the stuff that I've heard and seen. But the thing is here, regardless if this man was dealing fentanyl or not, this is America, this is the United States, and you are innocent until proven guilty in this country. There's no way that this man deserved any of this treatment like this. Because I know the people that watch this, the people that are going to try to skip over the obvious racism and everything that's going on, the police brutality in this video, are probably going to cite fentanyl, that it's poison and it's coming into this country and he deserves everything he gets. But this is still America, and you still are innocent until proven guilty. And like I said, I was addicted to these drugs. These drugs ruined my life. They ruined my family. They ruined my finances. They ruined everything, destroyed it. But I don't blame these dealers. It's addiction that was the problem. It was me that was the problem. If I had kept blaming it on those people and other countries and all that, I'd still be using right now. I had to look into myself and deal with the disease of addiction. They are the dealers, and everything that's going on is just a symptom of the disease of addiction. Until you deal with that, this is all going to continue regardless of what you do, or using the death penalty or army to deal with Mexico or whatever. It's still going to continue. Even more so because then the price of it, the danger and the price of the drugs go up, and it gets even more lucrative the more you use these extreme tactics, and if you don't deal with the disease of addiction. Take it from me, over 17 years clean and sober, and that's how I got clean, is dealing with myself, dealing with my own disease of addiction. Recovery is possible. The links to the videos will be down below. You guys have a good Tuesday.